Madam. A nice introduction about me. So, hi, hello, and everyone. And I am Dr. Muthusendil, and I welcome you all for this today's introductory section on data analytics and how to build data and analytics on AWS platform. And let us move further and quickly have a look above today's agenda. Can you able to see the screen? If you have any doubt, just post it in the chat box. I will try to answer your queries, all your queries. I'm happy to announce, answer all your queries actually. Can you able to see my screen now? Can you able to
Yes, sir,
see?
yes.
Yeah. So this is about today's agenda I plan now. What is finally first we are going to discuss about what is data analytics and why it is needed and what is exactly all about. And next we move on to the data flywheel, how the insights have been gathered for the business needs and different types of challenges of big data analytics. And next we will have some kind of use cases, real-time use cases, and what kind of database categories we are going to use over there. And finally, we will have a kind of showcase uh, in FB architecture, how the traditional on-premise cloud computing performance is going to be traditionally changed. In that way, we will have a kind of a transition over there, how the traditional FB architecture is going to be built and how it is transformed into a kind of AWS platform. This is how my agenda looks like. And let's start our session. What is data analytics? Why it's actually needed? So this is a buzzwords nowadays. Everybody is hearing about data analytics, and big data so much. So as we have become the digital society, the amount of data we create and collect has grown significantly, and it has a great phase of accelerating towards it. So you just think about day to day how much of mails you have been gathering in a fraction of a second, and without seeing that particular mails, and what happens if that mail has been stored in a bulk amount of storage of it. So we can't able to get some kind of insights out of it. So a lot of companies are investing so much of money on storing the data, but there is no point of getting values from it. So this is a part of where it comes to the picture. Data analytics is a process of exploring and analyzing large data sets to find some kind of hidden patterns which we can't able to unseen from it. So day to day we can't able to have a kind of look and get some kind of value out of it. So if we need to kind of a platform where the data is going to be gathered, how it is going to be injected into data storage, and how it will be collected, and how it is being analyzed, and it has to give some kind of meaningful value to the customer. So that is the part of data analytics come to the picture. So it is a kind of a specific analytical process where it has been to be applied to get a kind of symmetrical analysis of data. So we have to understand its nature and determine its essential features out of it. So it's nothing but a process of compiling, processing, and analyzing data, and to make use of it valuable, credible decisions out of this. This is all about data analytics, just injecting data, analyzing the data, and get some kind of insights out of the data. This is all about data analytics, how it is. Let's move on to the next slide. Why this particular data analytics topics comes into the boom in the nature? So the customers can able to gather some kind of hidden insights out of it. So we know lot amount of data are gathering in day-to-day basis, either in the form of human generated or in the form of computer generated. Human generated in the sense of you are just filling out the forms, sending emails, creating documents, creating spreadsheets, and you're posting some kind of images, and data are going to be stored in the database and much more. This is of human generated data. And as of computer generated data, we can able to create using application that we can able to create some kind of, we can generate some kind of data. For example, if I am filling some kind of online applications, out of which we can, the application can able to generate average income of the particular data, and what is the zip code, what is the location of the particular client, and how much of openings are there for the job openings for that particular client. That kind of human computer generated data is going to be accumulated in a day-to-day basis. Apart from this, so much of weblogs information, log file information, networks related informations are going to be gathered in much more way. So the data is going to be exponentially grows in much more faster than we have expected. So out of this, what kind of hidden insights are there? So we need to gather some kind of hidden insight out of the data, and we can able to generate reports by using the data which is accumulated in our databases or data storage warehouses actually. And we can able to perform some kind of market analysis strategy, what kind of strategy we can able to build in the future based upon the incoming data which is accumulated in our databases. That must be helpful in order to improve our business requirement. So this is all about why data analytics has to be needed. So so far data analytics means injecting data, storing the data, collecting the data, analyzing the data, and get some kind of valuable insights of the data. This is all data analytics says about. And why we need this kind of data analytics, we can able to get some kind of hidden insights out of the data, and we can able to generate reports out of the data, and we can able to do some kind of market analysis based upon the analysis of the data, and that leads to the business improvement. So if you say there is greater demand in the current trend actually. If you go through the 2009 and 2011 and 2015, and as of now 2020 and 2025, the data corporation has been predicted that so much of terabytes of data is going to be accumulated in the day by day. So we need some kind of data analytics in order to assess, in order to get some kind of value how out of the data which is going to be stored in the databases. So many enterprises or many companies or many organizations, they're trying to invest much more money on building some kind of data warehouses in order to get some kind of value out of this. They are having so much of component, business intelligence component, where they can able to get some kind of insights. They can get some kind of values out of the data. So if you see this particular graph from 2009, 2010, most of the companies are not going to be aware of this kind of data is going to be collected. So various kind of data sources have been collected day by day from various medias, as like social media, other factors like education, healthcare, finance, government. From various sources, data is going to be collected in IoT applications. So if I am wearing the smartwatch, day by day, how much of work I am doing and how much of heart rate is there, what kind of activities I am doing, what kind of information I am collecting, where I am going, all these kinds of data is going to be accumulated, and out of which, what kind of insights are going to build. So the company is investing so much of money for collecting some kind of value out of the data. So this trend goes on in the year 2015, 2020, and 2025, exponentially it increases. So the demand of data scientists grows in a fast, 5 times faster than what we have been expected in the day-to-day life. If we see the best jobs over there in Glassdoor, Indeed, or even Naukri.com, we can able to get the best first kind of data jobs which is going to be posted is for data scientist. Audience, if you have any doubt, just post it in the message box. I will try to answer your queries. Then we will say go through the benefits of data analytics. These are some of the benefits where we can able to get rid of some kind of applications. So we can able to personalize our data, customer data, by using these data analytics. And even in banking sector, we can able to find out the fraud reports. We can able to generate by fraud reports by using these data analytics applications. And in network kind of applications, we can able to find out the security threats, where it is happened, what is happened, why it has been happened. In that manner, we can able to analyze in security threat kind of detection applications. And in terms of social media applications, we can able to have a kind of behavior recommendation engines. We can build recommendation engines based on the user's behavior. And in terms of banking sector and insurance sector, we can able to find out the financial forecasting model. And in terms of real-time IoT-based applications, data analytics is purposefully useful for real-time alerting. These are some of the benefits for data analytics. And let's move on to the topic, data flywheel. Flywheel. This is how the 5 traditional ways which we can able to try to build upon on the data and to get some kind of value out of this. These are the 5 operations we are going to do on the particular data, where we can able to get some kind of insights out of this. First, as I told, actually, we have to break free the legacy databases, not to experience the open source flexibility and to increase the commercial grade performance. We need to break free the legacy databases. That means traditional databases like which are being used in the rows and columns method, where we have stored like RDBMS or MySQL databases or MSQL server, MySQL server, and these traditional databases has not comes into the picture so for now, as the data is going to be accumulated exponentially. So these kind of legacy databases will be cut it off anymore and doesn't work anymore. So maybe the data collection is going to be of structured data, there may be of semi-structured data, and there may be of unstructured data, comes all around the data sources. So the data sources from maybe from the third party social medias and IoT applications and banking, finance, and education, healthcare, and much more, retail, government. These are the other data sources where we can able to get sources. This is not in the traditional form of rows and columns method. So first we need to break free from the traditional legacy databases, and then we have to move or migrate that particular databases into any kinds of data warehousing kind of technologies we need to move. So we need to move that data which is stored in the legacy databases, and you have to move in terms of NoSQL type of databases, because the object database is also going to be comes into the picture. The ledger databases also comes into the picture. The graph databases also come to the picture. So we need to break free the from the legacy databases, and we have to save time and cost to lift the data into a kind of manageable forms. And then we have to build some kind of effective warehouses, modernize our data warehouses, which increase the scalability and we improves the performance. Basically, we have to build some kind of high performing applications. We have to build some kind of globally distributed applications which will scale possibly. So we have to modernize our data warehouses, which will store the data, and from data warehouses we can able to process and analyze the data, where the data is going to be efficiently much more utilized in the forms of getting some kind of real insights to the customers or to the enterprises. And we have to build some kind of modern modern database applications, so which will equip some kind of teams with the right databases of the right technologies which are going to use, and right jobs we are going to apply for a kind of teams, which will create some kind of globally distributed applications effectively, and we can able to build some kind of high performance applications, which is globally efficiently distributed to all other end users. And fifth point, which comes into the picture, we have to get some kind of valuable insight out of it. So we have to get some kind of better or faster insights, and that should be broader access for analytics. And this is how the data fly wheel works into the picture. Again, if anything, if I wants me needed, again it has to be injected from the cycle basis. So you have to first we have to build the legacy databases or traditional databases, and then we have to break free the legacy databases, and it has to move into a kind of manageable form, which will save our time, and then make kind of modernized databases where we can able to increase the applications in much more scalable, and much more performance has to be included with a lower cost. And why we need to create some kind of data driven applications in order to provide some kind of agility to that. So the application has to be globally distributed, and the scale of performance has to be increased. So we have to create some kind of microservices components over there, and each in microservices has to be given to a right team with the right databases. And out of this, we can able to get some kind of valuable insights that will give some kind of better experience to the customer. So in order to deliver better customer experiences and deeper customer engagements, and to get the business efficiently, greater business efficiency, so we have to customers has to build data and analytic solutions on a cloud computing platform. So if you go all these in a kind of traditional warehouse, traditional kind of architecture building, that will be very tedious to maintain and monitor all these activities. We couldn't able to concentrate on your business, developing our business, or getting some kind of value of the business. So if you migrate all these services into kind of cloud platform, then we can able to concentrate on your business, much more effectively and efficiently. So all these 5 operations has to be done on the data for doing some kind of data analytics. So as I am recapping all those points, first point, we have to break free the legacy databases. That is, we have to cut it off the traditional on-premises databases like Oracle or MySQL or SQL Server. And second thing, we need to move the various type of data. That means NoSQL databases, traditional databases, object databases, graph databases, ledger databases, or document databases have to be migrated into a modernized data warehouse technology where we can able to uh, uh, incorporate some kind of business intelligence tool from which we have to create some kind of data driven application which will be much scalable, much performance oriented. Globally it's going to be accessed all over the globe, and we can able to get some kind of insights out of the data. And this is all about the data flywheel. So as of now, the audience are clear, I think so. So far, are you all reachable with me?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir.
So far,
Yes,
I've been
sir.
clear.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Shall I move to the next topic?
Yes, sir, please.
Yes, sir.
So I'm recapping. I told what is data analytics, why we need data analytics, what is the great demand of data analytics in this current scenario, and what is the data flywheel. So far, I discussed all these points over here, and let's move on to the next topic. Different types of use cases. The purpose for building a databases for each and every use cases over there. Let me see some of the use cases and what kind of databases are be available. So this is the olden days scenario. The application architecture and patterns are evolved in this manner. Initially, the enterprises or organization build a kind of mainframe architecture, and it has been traditionally shifted to a kind of client server based architecture, and then it moves on to the kind of three-tier based architecture. You presentation layer, business logic layer, and a kind of database architecture layer has been shifted to that. And later on, now the point comes into the architecture where the microservices comes into the picture. So the whole entire problem has been divided into small subcomponents. The subcomponents is going to be called as a kind of microservices, where each component is going to be given to a team of project members, where they can able to evolve what kind of databases, what kind of technology we can able to apply for that microservices. In that way, it traditionally moves on. So initially, it was in terms of mainframe, and it transitions into a form of client-server architecture. And then in the later 90s, 2000s, it comes into the picture of three-tier architecture. And in the period of 2015 to 18, it comes into the picture of microservices-enabled applications. But now, if you see this modern architecture, as we all working in the terms of social network application or FB or Twitter or Instagram or maybe Uber, Swiggy, whatever maybe the modern kind of application which we are using now. So these are all the new requirements which we are going to face if you want to build some kind of application. So if in terms of users, if you think about 1 million plus of users are going to access our application in day-to-day life, and you think about the data volume, how much of volume the data sharing is going to be happen in a day-to-day basis, not only in terms of terabytes, in terms of petabytes, in terms of exabyte is going to be happening all over. The data volume is going to be generated. And in terms of performance, the latency, the minimum latency should be there. So in a millifraction of second, we need to query the request. We need to query the fraction of second. We need to have a kind of response in our applications. The request rate is going to be the millions of users who are going to be access our database application in a modern application, and it has to be performed in a micro milliseconds. Seconds. It has to be deliver. The results has to be queried back to the users actually. And access point, any device they can able to access in terms of laptop or mobile devices, or in terms of desktop, tablet, or in any form the users can able to access the our modern application. And another thing, scale up or scale out of in is going to be happen. So if we take a kind of example, Amazon, if they announces a kind of offer during the period of 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Some kind of offer Amazon is announcing at the time. so much of users going to be access that particular modern application where the servers has to be scaled up. And similarly, after the offer period has been over, automatically it has to get scaled down. In that form, if I build some kind of applications, if I'm going to have a kind of startup application, the scale up is going to be done in any part of time or some part of time. So for that particular period, we need to scale up our server. And after a period of time, if the offer is not there, then automatically we need to scale down our server. If I am incorporating these kind of modern traditional architecture, then scaling up and scaling down is very difficult, for a kind of having kind of startup applications, startup business. And in a part of economics, so the cloud computing comes into the picture where we can avail the services as in the concept of pay as you can use, as you can utilize the services. Based upon the utilization of the services, you can able to pay. This is the concept of pay as you go services. Cloud computing or cloud service providers which come to the picture, they provide the n number of microservices which we are trying to develop in our architecture. They will provide the services to you, so we can pay whatever services you are using over there. And in terms of developer access, we need to incorporate many APIs in our applications. So we have to have a kind of fully managed application interfaces over there. These all I'm telling about new application, new model application, which we are going to have a kind of facing these kind of challenges if you build some kind of modern applications. These are the new requirements we are facing, not in the terms of traditional mainframe application, 2-tier based application, 3-tier based application, and micro level services application, n-tier based application. Services application is not comes into the picture now. As of now, the new modern application face so much of requirements over there in terms of user, in terms of data volume, in terms of performance, in terms of access rate, in terms of scalability, in terms of APIs which are going to access. So we need some kind of fully managed services comes into the picture. In that way, cloud service provider comes into the picture. So where so many plenty of cloud service providers are there. One of the major stakeholders are in the market is AWS as well as the Microsoft Azure. So this is of the use cases. So I told actually later various data sources we can able to evolve. The 5 challenges we are going to face. So 5 V's. 5 V's is nothing but volume, velocity, variety, veracity, and value. These are 5 challenges we are going to face in terms of building our data analytics. So volume, as you know, terabytes of data, petabytes of data, exabyte of data is going to be penetrated into our data warehouse technology. So high volume of data is going to be penetrated into our data warehouse, they injected into our data houses. So from that volume of data and also velocity within a fraction of a second, either in maybe in the form of batch processing or in the form of stream processing, the velocity of data is also going to be very high. Some of the records is going to be of batch processing, and some of the records is going to be of time processing. Actually, real time processing also is going to be there. And variety in the terms, the lot of data sources. In some of the data may be in the form of rows and columns, that is traditional data sources, so it's a structured data storage. And some of the data may be of unstructured data, so semi-structured storage, as like of JSON files or XML files, or any kinds of key value pairs. Of a key value pair storage, that is semi-structured storage devices. And third part is going to be of unstructured data sources, where the media files, image files, video files, which are going to post in a day-to-day manner. These are unstructured type of data. So variety comes into the picture of structured, semi-structured, and unstructured kind of data is pulling into our data warehouse. And veracity in the sense we have to do some kind of ETL operation, that is extract, transform, and load operation has to be performed on the variety or velocity of volume of data onto our data warehouse. That's part the veracity comes into the picture. And finally, out of this, we have to get some kind of value. We have to get some kind of meaningful information out of this data. So these are the 5 challenges we are going to face for building upon the data analytics applications in traditional architecture, traditional way of architecture. I'll move on some kind of this is of volume. So the data sets are getting much more bigger and much more diverse in a single day. We have the data is going to be collected from the day-to-day transaction which you are doing in the banking application, and other kind of ERP sectors and weblogs, and even from IoT connected devices and through social media. We are collecting, we are generating, we are accumulating so much of data which is coming from the various data sources. That is huge volume of data is going to be happen in our applications. And next is going to be of veracity. Veracity in the comes different data sources is going to be. So velocity. So I told actually the various batch processing applications are there, and stream processing applications are there. So in the terms of we can able to get the records in terms of periodically, or it's going to be aperiodically basis we can able to collect the data. And third is variety. As I told, some of the data may be structured, and some of the data may be of semi-structured, and some of the data may be of unstructured data, which is collected from the various data sources. And veracity, we have to do some kind of ETL operation. I told extract, transform, and load operation has to be performed on data warehouse operation, which on-premises operations we have to perform. So the various data sources collected has to be accumulated into a data warehouse. From the data warehouse, you do some kind of ETL operations and bring some kind of meaningful reports, and we do some kind of operational analytics or predictive analytics on the data which is accumulated on the data lake. And this is the value. We finally, fifth point, we need to generate what kind of value we are going to get. Wait a minute. So this is a kind of value. Okay, this is the final 5 V's value. We have to get some kind of business intelligence. So what happened? Why it has been happened? What will be happen tomorrow? Or what kind of prescriptive analysis, predictive analysis, diagram analysis has to be done on the data which is stored in the data warehouse. These are the 5 V challenges we are going to face on building our data analytics applications. So volume, variety, velocity, veracity, and value. And next we will see some kind of common use cases, common applications. In terms of if you see the use cases like a CRM application or ERP application, or in terms of finance applications, all these data which is stored in the kind of applications are going to be in terms of, we have to satisfy the asset transaction. So the integrity problem has to be solved. The efficient integrity needs to be there in terms of databases, which we have to build some kind of application in ERP, CRM, or finance kind of applications. If you go some kind of shopping cart applications, or real-time bidding applications, or social media application, if you're building some kind of social media application, there it has to perform some kind of low latency reads and writes to be there. So we need to have a kind of high throughput, and we need to have a kind of low latency read and write, which has to be endlessly scaled. The application has to be endlessly scaled. Actually, we need to dump as much as data has to be stored. So in that manner, we need to have a real value pair storage databases, not relational databases. We need to switch on our topic to the relational value, key value based databases has to be there. And if you say some kind of use cases like fleet management or route optimization, or in terms of industrial equipment maintenance, though the key value pair is not going to be applicable over there. We need to store large amount of data has to be stored. So white column data format has to be established. White column databases has to be comes into the picture if you have some kind of use cases like fleet management or route optimization kind of application. So next, if you go building some kind of mobile application, or if you build some kind of content management or personalization kind of application, there we need to store as a document-based databases we need to have, because we need to quickly access the stored documents and query on any kind of attributes over there. So we need to have a kind of document-based application. So document-based databases should be there in terms of that particular use cases. And if you go some kind of use cases like in the scenario where geospatial services or real-time analytics applications or session management leaderboards applications, there and all, we need to have microsecond latency should be there. There it comes into the databases, in-memory databases has to be incorporated for doing the kind of applications. And if you go some kind of use cases like social networking, building some kind of recommendation engines, or building some kind of fraud detection application, there we need to have a kind of graph databases application which we can able to quickly create and navigate the relationship between the data entities between these two data. That graph databases comes into the picture. And if you go kind of use cases like IoT building applications or event-driven applications, there the databases, time series databases come to the picture where we have to collect the data sequentially in terms of time frame. By sequentially, we need to activate the time frame and we need to collect the data, store the data, and process the data. That time series type of databases comes into the picture. And in terms of kind of healthcare applications or registration finance kind of applications, there we need to maintain the ledger-based application, which is completely immutable, and it has to be verifiable. All the history of all changes application to the application level of data. So these kind of various databases has been there for a wide range of applications, starting from finance, social media applications, route optimization, mobile applications, geospatial applications, recommendation engines, IoT building applications, to the healthcare application. These are the different types of databases we are going to have if you are having kind of on-premises type of architecture. So this is very, very difficult or very tangible to take care of all those activities in our on-premises type of architecture. So we have some kind of fully managed services, whatever may be the data, whether it may be a referential integrity data, or it may be a key value pair data, or it may be a wide column data, which is accumulating from the various data sources, all has to be automatically, fully it has to be get automated services has to be done in that manner. So we have